Hello and welcome everyone to this week's edition of the Long Voyage. I um, I still can't remember what number we're up to.
God, see if we can find out before we continue any
Isn't
further.
it
This is very,
amazing? I'm supposed to be running this group and I repeatedly forget how far we are into it. Amazing.
I mean, it's important for you to sort of focus on telling the actual story. This will be episode 10.
This will be episode 10. All right. Well,
We've hit a milestone
we've
in
hit
that
our
regard.
first round milestone. That's cool. We've also here at CharismaToAC, we've also hit another great big important milestone. We have reached 200 subscribers. And
Yay.
while that, in the great scheme of the internet, may not sound like a whole damn lot, because, there are enormous channels out there with, 200,000 subscribers or whatever. We're small fries, and we realize we're small fries. But when we started this, 2 years ago, I don't think any of us had expected that we would ever get more than maybe, you know, three subscribers who weren't immediate friends or family, or ourselves. So this is pretty cool. So if you guys who listen to this happen to know anybody who might like to listen in on a bunch of mad role players a couple of times a week, then by all means point them in our direction. Um, and if you don't know any such people, please stick around yourselves so that we have the pleasure of your good company. And on that note, I shall hand over the baton to our usual recapper because nobody does it better than Mr. Chris Corbin. So take it away.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was the end of the Shameless Plug forecast. Yes, thank you. And I am as thrilled as everyone else that we have hit 200 subscribers, of which, well, yeah. No, it is a nice little milestone for us, and very pleased. But as for what happened last time, well, we, after some continued marching and stumbling through woods, coming across bear tracks, but not any bears because we were sensible and decided to avoid those, we came across the settlement on the hill that we had been ordered to get to in the first place, and found that it was unfortunately surrounded by a palisade wall with additional reinforcement on the inside to secure it. I won't go into too many details about it sort of made its build because that would take ages, but suffice to say it would be difficult for us to do anything to it with there being only 5 of us, only 4 of which were actually sort of lucid, seeing as our wizard was suffering from a really bad case of NPC-induced trots. NPC-induced trots. So yes. Either way, we decided on a cunning stratagem of pretending once again to be the enemy and making our way inside the fortifications, because we established that they didn't seem that thorough in vetting people that came through.
Nah.
We got in. We found the place to be about your standard middle of the nowhere, one step above being a hellhole kind of settlement. The guy in charge is a fat, lecherous old bastard. His men are mostly just working people and soldiers, but they've desensitized themselves to the horrors of war and the things that have been done to a group of prisoners they're holding within the settlement. Sort of, regular beatings for the men and much, much, much worse for the women.
Yeah.
Among
Much
there,
worse. It should be said that the commander is a lecherous bastard, but he's not fat. He's just very wide. He's one of those muscle bound, barn door type of people.
he's just big boned. Okay, I mean, yep, fair enough. He's stocky. He's basically what would
Yes,
happen.
that's the good word for it. Yes.
He's what would happen if you took a traditional fantasy dwarf and actually stretched him a couple of feet more.
Thereabout, maybe a foot and a half.
Yeah. After some sort of interacting with various people, Buggy somewhat sensibly tried to see if he could convince some of the prisoners when their captors weren't looking that yes, we're actually on their side and things are going to happen. We want to help you, but they weren't buying any of it because they've been too badly beaten by what's happened to trust anyone at the moment, which is understandable. Sindri and Ulver did some scouting. Otherwise, it was just a case of staying in the local tavern, as is usual, and discussing things. And then everything kind of went a bit awkward when another group of Southlanders arrived at the settlement, belonging to the Longraisers, who are in the enemy sword Liam's service, but who are ultimately loyal to the Raven Lady like us. So what happened was, in two separate conversations, Ulvo was able to speak with the Longraisers battle maiden and explain the situation, and in the end, I keep forgetting what was the battle maiden's name. It's written down somewhere. Otama, that was it. They agreed to help in whatever way they could, although they couldn't just start helping us to sack the place, because that would not only look bad, but it would probably wouldn't be very practical. And then the same thing happened with Bargy and the other group that had come in, about 6 or 7 or so Southlanders. Discussions being held right out in the open where anyone can hear, but as far as we could tell, nobody else in there spoke any real Southlander, so we could have conversations like that. And we agreed upon a stratagem between us that the Longraisers who had come in would speak to the garrison here of having seen what looks like the build-up for an enemy attack in the region, and that they would need reinforcements from within the garrison to go out, march out with them, and take those forces out. They could probably manage up to about 30 men at best, which would leave about of what we assume or what we understand as a 50-man garrison. So that would leave about 20 men in there for us to then, under the cover of night, try and take out quietly and with minimum of a fuss. And then once all that's happened, see if we can then set about causing other chaos. Like freeing the prisoners, maybe killing some innocent people, because, well, I say innocent people, killing some civilians who have betrayed the sword we're employed by currently, and then set fire to as many things as can be set fire to, although that doesn't seem like quite much, because a lot of these buildings have been made fire resistant, which is quite sensible and very irritating.
It is.
One final point was that we had, by the graces of the commander of the garrison, been assigned to the night watch for the evening, which could potentially help us, but could also potentially not help us, because while it does mean we have a reason to be out and about within the settlement, I imagine if we're sort of wandering too far from our patrol routes, if there are any patrol routes, we could be questioned. But we'll see what comes of it. But that's where we were, preparing for working on the night shift, in whatever meaning of the word we care to place on that.
Yeah. Well,
that's about it.
Yep, that's about it, I think. So, I guess the thing to say here is, what do?
Is it? How much time has passed since we finished last time? Is it literally just straight after, or are we?
No, it's straight after.
Well, since we weren't due to be speaking to we've spoken to the commander. I mean, if we've been given our orders, we should probably finalize whatever plans we need to with the Longraisers. If there are any, is there anything that needs clearing up, and then get our stuff together and prepare at the inn for the night shift.
That seems sensible.
And since either, well, I'm not sure who are we considering Buggy or Frody the designated leader of the group at this point?
I don't know. That's entirely up to you.
Because one of them is going to have to lead this conversation.
I mean, I can tag in if you want.
Yep.
I'll just assume I've been running along together with you, groaning in agony.
Yes, and jets of flaming diarrhea coming out of. Yeah. It's nice to know that you're embracing the hilarity of us mocking you like that. I'm sure you'll get your revenge later.
Well, also, of course, to that. So, well, I guess we should return to the inn and get ready for the night shift then.
Yes. Make sure you get everything you need. And
Do
Maybe
you
Sean.
know? Do we know if the other Southlanders would go and do that thing where they called the people away right now? Because in that case, the night shift might be the best time to attack.
They would do it so that you had, yeah, they would time it so that you had the opportunity to attack during the night when people were asleep and
Okay.
not wearing full armor, and they would be drowsy when they woke up and so on.
Yes, because as I understood, they hadn't spoken to the commander yet, so
No.
I guess they would go and say, "Hi, we need your help right now."
Indeed.
Good. Then we shall wait for that, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, by this point anyway, it's getting it's getting on in the day anyway, and there's things are winding down, sort of, because there won't be that many people traveling the road during the night. So this is going to be your second night in the village, and it's going to be your first night where you actually have an official shift or rotation. And the you do notice, even as every people are just going about their daily lives, so to say, and or the garrison here is just doing what they always do. There are a good few of them who are keeping a very wary eye on you guys, and on the long racers for that matter. I mean, you're still not the same people as them.
Yeah.
And you're huge, heavily armed, and everything. So there's some natural hesitation or distancing going on there. But it's true that there was somebody had to go and talk to the to the commander. That was it, right? What was that again? I'm sorry, I forgot quite literally.
The now friendly long racers
Yes.
had just arrived,
Yes.
had not yet spoken to the commander.
No, so they would
We
do that
spoke to
first.
them, and they planned to draw away a lot of people by saying, "Hey, we spotted an enemy army. We
That's
need you
true.
guys
That's how
right now."
Yes, that's how it was. Well, the Ultima takes her people with her, and goes towards where the commander's quarters are, and then she speaks to the guard outside. Does any of you actually follow? That's important. Do any of you follow her over there, or are you just observing from a distance?
I think since we're not supposed to necessarily have come with them,
Yeah.
it might be best to not follow. I think I'll at least definitely keep an eye out to see what happens, but I will also look as if preparing to have the night shift, whatever that means.
Mm-hmm. And well, that just means getting your equipment ready, and that sort of thing. Maybe having something to eat, before. But yeah, but then in that case, what you see is that she heads over to the building where the garrison commander is located, and you saw last time that's this particular building, and she isn't let in either from the looks of it. However, she reacts by grabbing the impertinent guard who won't let her in by the scruff of his tunic, lifting him half, up until he stands on tippy toes, and then rather indifferently depositing him next to the door, which she then opens and heads in.
Well, that's one way of doing it, I suppose.
That's the proper Southlander way.
And well, obviously the guard's like, "Oh, you can't do that! You can't do that!" And she's already in, so
Mm-hmm.
And there's that's doesn't lead to much of anything, except she comes out a few moments later. It doesn't take her very long actually, before she comes out, and almost right on her heels, like maybe 7 or 8 breaths after her, comes the commander, buckling his breeches around his waist. He's still, he's got his what's it called? His tunic is on, but it isn't belted or anything. So he's in a state of in a state of undress, or trying to correct that, obviously. But he comes out and he starts shouting for some of his men to immediately approach, and it's very clear to you that basically that he's calling for people to go with Otama and her men. And one of the things he does is he calls out to you guys.
Well, I guess we approach.
Yeah.
And he says, "Well, it seems that your comrade here has found evidence of an enemy force in the region. I want you to go with them and help find them and kill them. And I'll send some of my men as well." And Otama just, you can just see it. She's standing behind him at this point, but she rolls her eyes and goes, "Sure, but who are you going to have walk the actual perimeter tonight then?"
I might be better to keep some of us here.
In case it's a diversion.
Yes.
Right. If it's a diversion, of course. So you were actually suggesting, he says, and he looks, he's got this kind of, there's an echo, by the way, but he's got this sort of look on his face of a man who's suddenly very devious and clever, the whole tapping the side of his nose sort of thing. He says, I see. So what you're suggesting, he says, is that they are laying out a track for us to follow, and then when I send out all our best warriors to find and kill them, then they attack the weakened defenses. Is that what you're saying?
We're not suggesting anything. We're merely providing you with the military counsel you seek.
Right, he says. I think I mean that would be the clever thing to do, obviously. That would be the smart thing to do. And although of course well, let's just say our enemies are not exactly known for their great intelligence, or they would never fight for that loser. But it still stands to reason that that's the way that they would try to do things. So, all right, what I'm doing is, he says, he points to Otama and he says, "You take 5 of yours." She arrived. I mean, she was one of 7. So you take 4 of yours. So 5 Southlanders. Leave 2 of them in here, and then you get. And he looks over a couple of nearby groups, and he says, "You over there, and you there, and Fjall, you go and get your men, and you go with her." And it doesn't take long before you see something along the lines of 20 people, gathering to go with them. Before they're all done, 23 of the garrison are suddenly, and that's not counting her new arrivals. 23 of the
locals
are geared up and armed and ready to go.
I think Frodi leans into Baggy because he still doesn't speak the language, and says, "Maybe you should remind him that a fortress is a force multiplier. He doesn't need that many men here, but he needs his forces to survive whatever might happen out there."
Baggy nods at this and then addresses the commander. "It might be a good idea for you to send more men out into the field. Remember, we are inside a fortress. We don't really need that many men, and you have us Southlanders here as well. We can."
He does. I mean, to his credit, he doesn't just say, "Oh yes, of course." He actually turns it over, and then he looks at Otama and says, these tracks that you found, how large a force do you estimate, would be out there? And she says, I can't be sure exactly, but I would say probably somewhere in the vicinity of 50 men. That would be my guess. That would also be an adequate force to attack a place like this if it was done properly. I mean, and he says, well, no, it wouldn't be. I mean, look, we're 50, we are that many or more defending this place. And she just smiles and says, yes, but they don't know that. And when we took this place originally, there were what, 10, 12 guards in this place? And only one enclosure instead of two. The place has been further fortified since it was conquered. And you can see that the commander just nods thoughtfully at that. He gives that some thought, and he says, well, that is a good point, he says, but on the other hand, I don't want to be taken aback here either, so you take another 5 men and then ambush them if you can. If you can't, if you find them all in one place, only attack if you can get the drop on them, otherwise just figure out their strengths and then come back here. And Osama shrugs and says, sure, that's your orders, then that's what we'll do. And she nods to 2 of her men and tells them directs them to stay with you.
Interesting. As they come over, Sindri will nod respectfully at them. And
they nod back.
We shall probably get some time to get to know them once we've everything settled down a little bit.
In any case, the attacking force sets off. They gather some basic supplies, some water, some strips of dried meat, because who knows if they're going to be out for half the night, trying to find these people. Other than that, they bring their weapons and their armor, and that's it. And then they then they go. And around this time, it's, as I said, it's getting to be late afternoon, so there's time for you guys to
rest and prepare.
Rest and prepare, and then you will be on, as I said, on the night shift on the guard. So.
Okay. Is there any way in game terms that we can actually prepare, or is it just sort of like a?
It depends on what you want to prepare.
I'm not sure what I could.
Well, then your character probably doesn't have any ideas.
Fair enough.
How about some explosive runes?
That would be nice, but that spell is unfortunately from a different system.
Aww.
I mean, I could probably try and invent it, but I don't see any reason to.
No. But yeah, what do?
Well, I'm pretty sure Frothy needs some time to, plan out where he's gonna put fire stuff.
Yes.
Yes, and I think, the general putting our weapons to a whetstone and eating, getting some rest, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Make the evening look as normal as possible.
Oh, yes.
Also, yeah, I think if we get a chance to meet together, I think we need to discuss potential individual roles, because we may need to split up to cover more ground.
That is a good idea. We should do that.
In Sindri's mind, one of the biggest. There are 3 big things that need to be dealt with, and they are the 3 separate alarm systems within the settlement.
Yes,
and the commander.
And the commander. So yes, so if we kill the commander, we get rid of the sentries in the watchtowers and their alarm bells, and the one in the square. and then we can focus on taking out any patrolling soldiers alongside us on the night shift, and then deal with any soldiers that might have decided to, get a good night's rest in case of an attack happening, sort of thing.
Yes. So the 3 separate alarm systems, the commander, and as I mentioned last time when I was a ghost, the granary is a good place to strike. As John pointed out, flour explodes, but it only burns briefly. Still, it's at the very least a good possible distraction.
Yes, it is.
How to have like an exploding flash fire in one part of the settlement and then perhaps strike elsewhere at the same time.
Yes.
Exploding flash fires are always useful, and there's still a huge echo.
All right, then I'll just have.
Shame. Okay. So yes, it's just in a case of would it be unreasonable to find out if we can find out from among the soldiers who we'll be patrolling with? It's good to know friendly faces.
Actually, since we are going to be the night patrol, perhaps it would be a good idea for us to know the different alarm systems in case we need to sound the alarm.
Yes. Yes.
Clever.
Yes. Good idea.
So that's probably part of the prepping is for us to get someone to show us how the alarms work. If it's just a matter of pulling a cord or something.
Ringing a bell. Yeah.
Ringing a bell.
That's easily done. There are bells in the towers, and they are up in the towers. But there is also a smaller bell hanging underneath the tower, just in case whoever is up in it gets killed or doesn't see something that happens inside, town or whatever. So there's a bell up in the tower, there's a bell underneath each tower, and then there's the gong, which is in the market square, over there in the middle with the there, basically.
Yeah. That's going to be interesting because we need to be very careful. We probably need at least 2 people to take that down, because if you just cut it down, it's going to fall and make a gonging sound.
Yes.
So you need someone to catch it if you're going to have someone to cut it free of its
So
holdings.
someone strong, perhaps like Ylva, to catch it.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm thinking that maybe Sindri is inclined towards stealth. Maybe I can see if Sindri can be the one to deal with anyone in the towers, or at least one of the towers to start off with.
Yes, we should definitely take care to have the towers taken out, and the gong. We should take the alarm systems out first. I think that's a good idea. How many towers were there?
Just the 2.
3, I think. No, 2. No.
You said 2
wait,
last
no,
time.
there are 3 actually, because if you look, there's one here in the middle as well. If you see.
Oh God!
It's just
Oh
kind
God!
of hidden behind that's the old guard tower that was at the other gate before they built the new. It's still in use, but whoever is guarding that tower isn't quite as they don't need to be quite as much on their toes as those who are on the outer walls, for obvious reasons.
In that case, maybe we could start with the 2 outer towers, and then Group A moves to the middle tower, while Group B moves to disable the gong. So start outwards and move in.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
Then once the alarms have been disabled, we can always focus on the commander, or some of us can.
Where was his house?
Oh,
there.
Yeah, that one.
Okay, so that's also quite in the middle. That makes sense then, that we would go outwards to the middle, and then that would be our next stop. So what? Go in, kill him, barricade the door, burn it? Any plans?
I think we'll save the burning for once we're sure that we've got less men to worry about killing. Also, is this a situation that a tactics or strategy role would benefit us to?
Yes, it would.
Thought I'd bring that up.
Yes, it definitely would.
Okay, let me see if I can find.
The way you can do that is you can you basically what you've just explained to me is that you want to start out by as I understood it, quietly silencing some of the alarms so that people can't use them before you actually start the actual killing. Actually.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, we might have to kill a few people
Well,
near the
yes.
alarms anyway. But yes, we won't
Yes.
focus on that until after.
All right. Well, I can give you some feedback on how viable that is with a successful roll.
Okay, anyone who's got tactics or a flat ability that might apply, roll now.
I think Ilva might have.
You know that Ilva has, but someone else had it as well. Was it?
No.
No,
What would the flat ability be? IQ?
IQ minus something, and I believe it
God.
is a -5. So
How do you when you roll it, it asks for a modifier?
yes, or you simply roll a 3d6 and we'll see. But let's see, it's 12 versus 9. So nope.
Oh.
Nope.
You have to subtract 5 from that.
Yeah.
So that's
From baggies as well, so yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on.
None of you get it.
Oh God, no.
No.
We're not doing very well tonight.
No.
So we'll just
That's-
assume then that it actually works out.
Yeah.
I do have something else I want to try.
Yeah.
I want to ask the bones.
Oh, that's
how
a good idea.
successful
Before
they-
you do that, though, I just need to insert something here, and that is that I said it's IQ -5. That's because that is a normal. That is normally how it is done, but there are some skills that don't have a what's it called, that don't have a default a default setting like that where you need to have the skill. I can't remember if this is one of them. I could look it up, but I'm actually in the business of setting up something else, so in a hurry. So yeah.
Let's see.
But you wanted to look at the bones.
Yes, I asked the bone about, success or not.
Yes. And let's see, what do you get out of that? The bones tell you when you throw them. Where do you throw? What are you doing? What before this? Are you eating? What are you doing? So
I think this will be after we've eaten.
Yes.
And Throdi will, go to not necessarily a different room, but just, sit in the corner or somewhere away from people so we can concentrate.
Yes.
And then there. I guess.
Yes. Okay, but it's just to get the context and everything. What happens is that the bones fall in a way which you interpret as the best way to put it is really to use the expression that fortune favors the bold.
That makes sense.
Because there is clearly a risk involved in this. You are still going to be outnumbered, and badly so. But at the same time, the bones do tell you that you must have courage and be bold.
So do I interpret it as be extra bold because that would be more fortunate?
I would say that is entirely up to you. How you choose to interpret it is entirely up to you.
In that case, Throdi says to the others that the bones tell him that fortune favors the bold, and while it's probably not a good idea to be completely careless, we should proceed with our bold plan.
All right, then. That's what we'll do. Also, Joan, for out of game, it's IQ -6 for
Ooh.
tactics.
Thank you.
Oh dear. So if you even worse than.
Yep.
Probably because it's actually a hard skill.
Yes, that is exactly the thing.
Also, fortune favors the bold. Is it a Chinese cookie fortune shop that's making them?
Ha ha ha.
I'd say,
Yes,
I mean,
Throdi breaks one of his bones and pull out.
That sounds painful. No wonder magic is taxing for the body.
It's
I mean-
little bones that he throws. It's not his own bones.
Still taxing, but not just on himself.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I miss the days where I played role playing games where rolling beneath the number was undesirable.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, so we'll just have to proceed. Sindri probably listens
Yes.
to all this happening while sharpening his knife because
For a moment, I was so happy that I had a 6. I thought, yay! And then I said, wait.
So, should we go with the plan one last time?
Yes.
I mean, do we need to include our 2 long razor companions
Yes.
in what we're doing?
I think so. If they're going to take part in the nighttime shenanigans, then yes.
Yes.
Do they seem inclined to do that, Joan?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that's good. In that case, we should probably make some groups.
Yes.
So how about we divide the archers into 2 separate groups, just to begin with.
Mhm.
So that would be Gylfi in one group and Sindri in another.
Yeah.
And they could possibly, when we're disabling the towers, make sure that alarm is not sounded. As you know, like, oh, he's going for the thing, let's shoot him in the eye. Then we have an uneven number.
We do. So my suggestion would be if we're going to have a group going down to the smaller of the 2 fortifications, that might be the one that needs less people.
Yes. How about...
Oh, and for the record, you since you asked last time, that building that I'm pinging here,
Mhm.
that is the smithy.
Okay. We want... Where was the gong again, Joan?
Over here.
Okay. We want Ylva to be near that one in case it's heavy. So we will send... I'll do some drawing.
Yes. And as you said, you wanted to include the 2 long racers as well?
Yes.
Do they have names?
Yes, they do. I shall pop them up here. First one.
Oresti.
There was the Wolf Slayer.
Var.
Sanderson.
All right. Cool.
Yes. And if you see, I've added over on the side there, I've added a new category called allies.
Yay! Because we lost all the last ones.
Yep. They're all in the world
God.
of those inhabited section.
How
so-
did you get here on your own? We didn't. Well, where are the others? You don't want to know.
Don't wanna know
Yeah,
now.
they eaten by a fucking giant snake.
And stumbled and trampled and left behind and yeah.
Yes, because they were
Got an arrow in the knee.
all weak.
And then he took a snake to the bottom half. And then he was no longer a adventurer.
Anyway,
Yes, sorry. When I try to write Frodi's name, if I have numlog on it or off, I think it is, it throws me out of the page.
how dare it?
Okay, so Team A is Ylva and Gylfi.
Yay, Team A! The A team!
The A team.
Oh god, here we go.
You need Mr. T.
Thank you, Hein.
Pity the fool! I pity the fool!
That's even the aid.
Oh, we're going back to the 80s now, aren't we?
Yes.
Back to the 80s.
Okay. So far so good. I am considering if we should have someone standing guard by the gong to make sure no one goes there.
The King Kong.
Not it.
What?
Opinions on that?
Well, as long as it's not Baggy, then yeah.
You
I mean,
don't
we could-
want him near the
Baggy
gong?
wants to kill people. Not
I mean,
stand
we-
guard.
I mean, we could make use of 1 or 2 convenient NPCs, although at least one of them is
Absolutely.
one of them is also like you, is the kind of person who doesn't want to be deprived of a chance to kill things, so he might not be very suitable.
I think We shall, unless he objects, I think we should entrust that role to what's his name, Orosti,
Yes.
Hmm.
because he seems like he would be more suited for that task than Var would be.
Actually, they suggest that they both go there because
Oh,
as Var puts it, there is very little doubt that as soon as killing and maiming and screaming starts, somebody will try to get to the gong to warn everyone.
That's true.
Which
and
means that there will be plenty of killing to do for whoever stands there and waits. Except, that, as he puts it, the difference is I won't have to run around looking for them.
hopefully our disabling the towers won't alarm the rest of the settlement. But in case it does, that is a good point.
I wouldn't put it past our dice rolls for this all to go spectacularly badly wrong.
Things will absolutely go south. You can bet your.
Well,
I don't
we're
know.
Southlanders. It kind of goes without saying.
In that case, I will say it's probably best to assign Baggy to Team B, because Team A has reinforcements close by.
We do.
Yeah, in the two NPCs.
Yes.
Where is the gong? I can't see it anywhere.
It's
Yeah.
there.
Ah.
It's not actually there, but we're saying it's there.
Yes,
you have
it's located
Okay,
in that
okay.
place. So there will be 4 of you all in all in that immediate area.
In that case, let's see. The plan is,
Echo again, by the way.
yes,
Sorry.
That's fine.
Ilva and Gilfy, you will go to this location and disable that tower without sounding the alarm. I'm beginning to doubt whether or not I should send those two alone.
Have some faith.
I have a lot of faith in their ability to kill. It's the whole stealth part I'm having doubts about.
don't.
Yes.
I am deeply. I'm not sure what the word is. Not upset, but disappointed that you would say something like "have some faith" in a world like this.
Hey, it's
I'm-
800 years before, the events of the book.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
It's
Okay. I should probably say it here. Ilva doesn't know how to be quiet, and when she does, she's a fucking klutz. Just mentioning that.
That's true. You do know that she has a tendency to fall over her own 2 feet.
Maybe we should send Baggy with them.
Yes. Yes.
How good is Baggy at the whole stealthy thing?
You get the babysitting job.
Let's see.
The question is how many of you in general are any good at the stealthy stuff?
That's Dex, right?
Yeah, but stealth is also it is obviously
That's you.
Gesundheit.
Whoa.
Gilfy is at least above average. That's
And
good.
again,
Yeah, Baggy doesn't have any skill in stealth, so it's down to his dex.
Is his Dex good?
His dex is 11.
Ugh.
No.
So that's above 10.
Average. Yes.
Sindri is definitely the one most geared towards stealth out of the group. So.
No question. No question.
I think in that case it might be best to just have Throdi and Sindri alone, and then Baggy go with Team A.
And for the record, it's dex -5 if we roll stealth and don't have the skills. Stealth.
Yay! So we have to roll under 5 to actually do it. Woohoo!
Okay. Okay, Team A approaches here, and hopefully Baggy can bluff his way up into the tower so we don't have to actually stealth. You take out the tower. You take out the tower, and then move to the gong and the commander's office. In case that place is already good, 1 or 2 of you should move to the middle tower here, where you will hopefully be met by Team B, who will start out by disabling this tower, and who will then move to the middle tower to disable that, hopefully having reinforcements from you guys.
Yes.
After that, we will talk about what to do then, but we are going to take out the commander,
Yes.
And then possibly blow up the granary, but we'll see.
Yes.
Any questions?
Nope. Good to go.
Yep. May fortune favor the foolish.
Oh, no, it favors the bold.
Bold. And we're bold.
Bold, foolish, same difference.
No,
The bold.
Sindri, have faith.
It's firstly, it's not Sindri saying it, and secondly, no, I will not. I don't care if it's how far by the past of this world of the story of this world is. I refuse to have faith in this world or anything to do with it.
He knows me, he knows my writing too well.
Well, I've had to proofread it for about 7 years, or well, 6 years actually.
6, yes, but yes.
So there you go.
All right.
Anyway.
Well, there we go. You are pretty much set with something resembling the bare bones basics of a plan.
Bare bones indeed.
Yes, but hey, it's a plan of sorts.
It is.
I
It
guess.
absolutely is.
So, yes, it's not quite evening yet. It's not quite time for you to get started yet. But you do have 2 new comrades in arms that you have just met. Basically, these 2 Var and Orosti. They're
Baggy suggests some dice throwing.
no problem. They're more than happy to do so.
Cool.
Orosti takes out a what's it called? He takes out a one of those small leather bags that you use to keep money in, drawstring bags, from his belt, and just weighs it in one hand and says, "How about we make this a little more interesting?"
Oh dear God.
Yes. Let's.
Ha! That's a man after my own heart. He says, "That's would you believe these hackneyed idiots? People here are so afraid of losing a few silvers. Would you believe
Yes.
it? It is pitiful.
It is. It's ridiculous.
It is. I mean, even if win or lose, it's about having some fun
Yes. And winning, of course.
and winning. But I can have fun and lose, but I never do.
Really?
So, yeah, but I never do. So it's all right."
I think Thrody will tap Sindri on the shoulder.
Mm.
Let's play some Tuffle.
Mm.
That actually
means
has
yes.
that actually gets Var's attention. He comes over to look at you guys playing Tuffle.
Well, he comes over to see him playing Taffle. What he finds is Frody playing Taffle and Sindri losing Taffle, most likely. So
I would say like looking at with Sindri getting his ass whooped, like Gilfy would actually try to participate. Like, try.
What on whose side though?
No, like if Sindri wants to tag out, like Gilfy definitely again.
All right.
Frody welcomes every challenger, and he's more than happy to teach people.
I suppose Gilfy like picked up the game just watching them play.
Okay, so the one that's come over to watch us, of the 2, what was it? Which one is it? I'm sorry,
Var is the
Var.
one who's come over to look at you play Tuffle. He's interested in that.
What does he make of it then?
At first, he doesn't say much, but he is clearly he's interested, and he occasionally, he will when one of you makes a clever move,
Yeah.
he will go okay. Something like that, and when one of you if you make a bad move, he will be conspicuously quiet.
I think, just because it's fun, I think Frody's playstyle is very much about slowly setting up and then suddenly collapsing.
Right. Yes. That actually makes so you but then again I have to ask you because this is obviously quite relevant in this case. Do you prefer, and I'm about to send you guys a picture, which I suggest you take a look at, because this is what a tafel table would look like. So, you know, for reference, it might be a smart idea. Here you go.
Yes, it's exactly what it's actually
Interesting.
That is what it looks like. And just to explain the rules really quickly, because it is actually reasonably simple. You see the one in the dead center of the board is slightly taller than all the other pieces, right?
Yes.
That's the king.
Mm-hmm.
He is in the middle. He and his men are caught in his great hall, which is now under attack from all four sides.
Ah.
Those are the other pieces. The pieces from the sides can move in straight lines, but they must move until they meet another piece. The king and his followers move one step at a time per piece, obviously. So the attackers have far greater mobility.
Yeah.
However, in order to defeat a piece, you must outflank it. You must have a piece on both sides of it.
Ah.
So it is a game of slowly building up. You know, as you slowly escort the king out of his hall, because if the king piece reaches any edge of the board, he has escaped, and the king's side has won. If the attackers manage to flank the king, they have obviously killed him.
I see.
That's how it's played. So, do you prefer to play attackers or defenders?
I think Throdi prefers to play attacker.
Hmm.
Yes.
And I think then he will make a lot of moves that don't necessarily seem like a lot. And then, because I think he's the kind of person who thinks many moves ahead.
Yes.
So he'll make a lot of moves that don't seem like they do a whole lot. And then suddenly, you know, he'll sweep in for not necessarily the winning stroke, but a big stroke.
Yes.
Yes, I think Sindri will. One virtue he has is that he is very patient in his playing, and that he does pay attention to the little details.
Yes.
So he probably does, in spite of not knowing the rules very well, he probably does, for a beginner, give Frody a good game before the king in the middle is killed.
Yes.
I think Throdi will praise that, definitely.
And admittedly, it is generally considered to be harder to play the king's side than the attackers. It's usually being the defender is harder, but it's also all the greater the glory if you win as the defender.
Yes, of course.
But it's definitely you get some good games out of it, no question about it, and you know, a couple of games probably, but you managed to get done, and after the second game, Var says, "Would you let me have a shot?"
Sure. Would you like to play against me, or
Yeah, let's see. And
which side would you?
and he just, you know, he looks at Sindri to make sure that he's not, you know, forcing him out. If he still wants to play, then obviously he's just gonna wait. But
no, Sindri is perfectly content to let Var have a good crack at it.
Yep. Well, he is a very good player. You find he's definitely a very good player. He's
I was expecting that.
He's not, you know, like a grand chess master or anything, but he is definitely an accomplished player who knows what he's doing with this.
Oh, that sounds like a ton of fun then. Which side does he prefer?
He prefers playing defense.
Oh, that's just perfect then.
So yeah, he's taking he is being extremely patient and protecting all his pieces ridiculously well, because obviously the whole and the thing is that Sindri can learn from watching this is the real test of playing defense is to not suddenly become impatient. It will take time to get out.
Yes, of course.
But as long as you can continue to have your men clustered together, then they can't be flanked. Because they can't be flanked diagonally, they have to be flanked, straight across.
Yeah.
Which makes it very difficult for, if you're patient enough. But it only takes one wrong move, and then you've opened up something where an opponent's piece can move in, fill up a gap in your line, and it'll take you 2 or 3 moves to flank him, but it'll only take him 1 or 2 moves to do damage to you. That's the trick. That's why it's so hard. But Var is a very patient player. So I think, I'm not just going to, say that he wins outright, but I do think you're probably going to play another two games and split them 1 apiece.
Yeah, that sounds perfect. I mean, I think you just highlighted why Frody prefers to play offense as well.
Yeah.
Because he can be patient.
But he prefers he doesn't have to be.
Exactly.
Yeah. He's a little too much like fire in that regard, A slow burn will get the work done, but a bonfire is more fun.
Yes, and that is, that is exactly what for him. I think it's very much like building up a charcoal burner. You start out by building it up, and then you have the intense fire when you just suddenly attack.
Yes. Well, actually, Gurfi made a very good suggestion here if you have the game's skill to roll. That makes...
Oh, that's a good question.
That makes perfect sense.
I do.
Then go ahead and roll it. Yes, that is good. And I shall do...
So shall we roll 3 times for best out of 3?
Yeah, you know what? That's not a bad idea. Do that.
So do you want to roll as well?
Yep. Let me see. Yep, you win the first one.
Huh.
Aha.
Exactly the same.
I think Frody tried the exact same technique.
He does win the second one.
He adapted. Well done. Then I have to up my game.
You have to up your game, indeed. Let's see if Var can come up with something. Ooh! Here's the thing. He is an accomplished player and has a skill of 13. So he beats you by 1. But it is so close. Basically, by the time he gets out, he's got the king and 3 of his men left. And that's it. So, he is basically at the end of it there. He's sitting there looking at his remaining 4 pieces and going, 1 more round and you would have beaten me. So, well played. That I am impressed, he said. It's
must play again.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And well done to you. It's rare that I have such skilled opponents.
It's rare to find anyone who actually... It's rare to find people who actually take the time to sit down and learn the thinking behind the game. He says, but for me, what I do is I literally imagine that I am the man that in the middle commanding the rest of them to guard me on the way out. So I put myself in the place of the piece, and yeah.
Well, I can get behind that. I imagine myself a Grand Commander, possibly wearing a black cloak.
I like your optimism, but then again, he says, and looks at everyone in the room, if we are not all of us ultimately aiming for a black cloak, then what the hell are we doing on a ship to begin with?
Exactly.
So, he says.
Guilty's face kind of falls.
Actually, if that happens,
yeah.
Let's hang on to that for a moment, that his face falls, but I just want to have a couple of rolls between Orosti and Bagi as well.
All right.
Of course.
And anybody
Then-
else who wants to join in the dice rolling, of course.
Yeah, Gilby would be like watching the other game, but he would be participating in the other.
Sure. Well, it's a games roll, and
Yep.
and it's
IQ -4 since Baggy doesn't have the skill game.
all right, sure.
So, ugh.
Ooh. That is a good one.
He wins, so he takes a silver off you.
Yeah, he takes. I think Baggy puts 2 silver into the pot.
All right, sure. Then he takes 2 silver off you, obviously. And he will meet your bet in that case. That's fine. He also says, he doesn't want to,
Who wins? Wait. How much skill in games does this guy have?
He rolls 10, and he's got.
But Gilfy was in this game. Gilfy rolled 6.
Roll 6. Sorry, I
Gilfy
didn't
actually
see that.
wins.
Gilfy wins. You're absolutely right. But Gilfy does have the game's skill. Excellent, outstanding. Gilfy wins.
Baggy will soon as well.
He rolls the dice. He rolls well. Actually, I think the game that he suggested you play is tossing pigs.
That makes sense.
So yeah, we're tossing piglets.
If they don't have, Frodi has a game they can borrow of tossing pigs.
Oh yes. He's got a set as well. I think it's a very, very common game. So it's fun, and he basically with a roll like that, Gilfy just has his piglets copulating. Basically, that gives a lot of points. So Gilfy wins, and okay, one more.
Double or nothing.
Oh yes, double or nothing. I like that. Oh my!
It's actually a success.
It's actually a success, but
Even with the -4.
if only by one.
Yeah.
But let's see what if Gilfy manages his roll. He does.
And I will actually try luck on this. We are coming up on an hour.
Yes. Well, you're still winning because you roll one. You roll 2 under your skill.
Baggy did so as well. He rolled 5 versus 7.
Oh, okay. Yes.
So
There you go.
So it's 3 under.
Yes, it's 3 under, and let's see.
smart ass.
And he rolls 4 under, so he wins back his money.
God damn it.
But from one of the bets, Baggy loses twice. Gilfy does win once, so Gilfy breaks even. Or sorry, Gilfy breaks even, and so does Orosti, and unfortunately, Baggy is the one paying for the fun.
I know what some of my XP goes toward.
Well, now you have a good reason to spend points on game.
Yes.
Yes, you're going to spend it all in skill in a new skill called Sore Loser.
I think that's actually a disadvantage, but okay. Or a quirk.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, we're going to take a break and be right back with more Long Voyage. And when we get back, it will be, nighttime and time for some action. Da 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 da. All right, and don't go anywhere.